What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So I just saw a list from, I think his name is Dan Orlovsky, right? Former quarterback in the NFL. Won't much of shit himself, right? But he had a top five. He had his top five quarterbacks of all time. And look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, man. But this list was truly stupid, in my opinion. It's stupid, and it doesn't make any sense to me. You guys tell me if this makes any sense to you. At number one, he had Tom Brady. I don't argue with that. You know, I don't like Tom Brady. I know I always said he wasn't the GOAT, but I don't have a problem with people having him as a GOAT. The man won 7 Super Bowls, threw for almost 90,000 passing yards. I mean, come on. At the end of the day, you can't have a problem with that. But at number 2, he has Patrick Mahomes. Are you fucking kidding me? Patrick Mahomes is already in Dan Orlovsky. Are you telling me that Patrick Mahomes has done enough already to be seen as the second greatest quarterback of all time? That's what you call an agenda. That's what happens when you have ESPN and Fox Sports and they have a business relationship with these sports entities, the NFL and NBA, and they're there to promote a product. And they're hype men, and they're there to sell you on the greatness of today's athlete. But my goodness, Patrick Mahomes he's done enough to supersede what other players have done by winning one Super Bowl and losing in another one, and we don't know what's going to happen in Super Bowl 50, what is this, coming up, 8, 57? So he's already done enough to be the second greatest quarterback of all time. Think about that. He's already done enough. Anyway, at number 3, I believe he had John Elway. Now, John Elway was a great, great quarterback. But the thing that I remember about John Elway was until he had a great team around him, right? With the best running back in the league, Terrell Davis, ran for 2,000 yards one year. John Elway was a perennial choker in the playoffs. Lost so many Super Bowls. Got blown out in the Super Bowl. Blown out. Ironically, one of them was to Joe Montana and the 49ers, a Super Bowl that was supposed to be close. But guess who's now on this list? Joe Montana. He says that Joe Montana's numbers don't add up. They don't measure up, his numbers. I'll get back to that in a moment. Number 4 on his list is Peyton Manning. Now, how the fuck is Peyton Manning behind Patrick Mahomes? Peyton Manning threw for what, 70,000 passing yards? Over 500 touchdowns? Was generally considered the best quarterback in the 2000s for an entire decade span. I don't know how many MVPs he won. 2 Super Bowl titles. And you have Peyton Manning behind Patrick Mahomes? I mean, there's an argument to be made that he was a better regular season quarterback than Tom Brady. I mean, this is a guy that was calling his own plays out there on the field. And number 5, he has Dan Marino. And I know it's only because of numbers. Only because of numbers. Yes, he threw for 61,000 passing yards. But how many Super Bowls did he win? How many Super Bowls did he win? Joe Montana Let me just look at Joe Montana right quick. Okay, Joe Montana passed for 40,551 yards and a career 92.3 QB rating. 63.2% completion percentage back in the 80s and 90s. Montana had the highest passer rating in the NFC 5 times. In 87 and 89, he had the highest passer rating in the NFL overall. Just want to look at some of his NFL records. Second in playoff games with a passer rating of over 100, 12 times. Most pass attempts without throwing an interception in the Super Bowl, 122. Most wins in the Super Bowl without a loss, 4. Checking out some stuff. Now, because of the era that he played in, yes, um, his numbers are not going to look the same as players today because the game is different. You know, back in the 80s and 90s, a quarterback might throw the football 25, maybe 30 times. Today, routinely, we see quarterbacks throw the football 50, 60, approaching 70 times. Then you had the running back. Back in that time, the running backs would still get close to 2,000 rushing yards. You might see a running back get 20, 25 carries routinely. The fullback in some offenses might get 15 to 20 carries. They've pretty much phased out the fullback in football in the same way that in the NBA they phased out the traditional center. And you know what I'm saying, it's when you look at both leagues, there's been the same effect where it's all about offense because casuals love scoring. But I mean, to sit there and say that Joe Montana's not a top 5 quarterback, I mean, I get it that this dude's a former quarterback. You gotta sort of respect his opinion, but fuck that, man. And then what about some of the other players, man? What about the Johnny Unitises? What about the Y.A. Tittles? You know what I'm saying? Shit. What about goddamn? You know what I'm saying? Warren Moon. I mean, if you're talking about like it's pure passers, where's Drew Brees? Drew Brees threw for 70,000 goddamn yards. He was at one point in time the all-time passing yards leader. He has 2 Super Bowls. Why is he on the list? Why isn't he on the list? I should say over Dan Marino. And then, if you're talking about not putting Joe Montana on the list because of his numbers, then why the fuck is Patrick Mahomes on this list? A guy that's only played 4 or 5 years. But yeah, this is that bullshit I'm telling you about. This is that bullshit I'm telling you about. They did it to Will Chamberlain, and in the NFL annals right now, their analysts are going to start doing that to guys like Joe Montana. You know what I'm saying? They'll start doing that to dudes like him. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it, man. Tell me what you guys think. I know what the fuck I watched in the 80s. I know what the